Okay, so we've got shuffle, spot, slip, and grid. So what's the difference? Let me show you. Number one, let's zoom in a little bit. If you see all these vertical lines right here, these are grid lines. So if you're on grid and you go to the grabber tool and you move it around, you'll see that it doesn't move very smoothly. It's snapping to the grid. No matter, it won't let me put it just anywhere. It'll only let me place it somewhere on the grid. So let's zoom in a little more so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, see where it is right here? Watch. Boom, 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 boom. There it is. So the grid is mostly used for music, but it's also used for maybe there's like, say, like a video clip that begins at just a very precise point on the grid. The grid, these vertical grid lines will help you line up. So let's do this. Maybe I'll take this voiceover and put it right there. The grid lines will help me unquestionably line up clips to each other on the grid line. So like they are totally synced up to each other. There's no question. You go to slip though. When you go to slip, the grid lines are still there, but watch. I can put this wherever I want. 90% of the time, you're probably going to be in slip mode because slip lets you put stuff wherever you want. The disadvantage though is if you want to sync stuff up, watch this. I could put this, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be right on the money, right? So that's the disadvantage of slip, is if you're trying to sync up clips on a particular point, you're never totally sure. However, there is a way around that. Check this out. You go into what's called relative grid. With relative grid, see how the beginning of this clip is not on the grid? It's letting me move it, and it's still letting it place the clip. It's still moving it by grid point, but a grid point that's relative to the absolute grid point. So these grid points still exist, but it's only letting me place the clip at the new point that's relative to the grid point that it was before. That's when this is on relative grid. Now, will that work if I bring in another clip? Let's find out. No. See, if you bring in another clip, it'll always snap to the grid. So the grid is a really limiting thing to use. Spot, what's spot? Well, check this out. This is where spot could be really helpful. So let's look at this. When you put it on spot mode and you select a clip, a window comes up. It tells you that it's starting at, let's see, 3 seconds and 2 milliseconds, and it ends at 4 seconds and 19 milliseconds. So this is actually super helpful because check this out. If I want to bring in a clip, remember this begins at 3 seconds and 2 milliseconds. I want to bring this in and drop it here. Watch what happens. It's going to say, hey, where do you want to drop it? I want to drop it at 3 seconds and 2 milliseconds. Boom. So now I know that these two guys start at the same spot. That's why it's called spot. Maybe I want to bring in something else. How about a windstorm? So let's see here. It has to be a mono track. Bring in a mono track here. So I'm just going to purposefully drop it somewhere in there. Okay, so it's saying, oh, you want to drop it at 2.930 milliseconds. Nope, I want to do it at 03.002. Oops. 00. Oop. Ah, that's the tricky thing. 2 milliseconds. Boom. Look. So spot is really good if you know your time code and you know exactly where things are going to be. The exact spot. Last but not least, shuffle. Shuffle. Let's zoom out a little bit. Actually, let's just bring this guy over here. So shuffle is interesting. Shuffle will not let you move clips around freely. So the grid will still let you move clips around, but it'll always like snap to the nearest grid point. With shuffle, look, I'm clicking, holding, nothing's happening, because shuffle likes to keep clips from, it doesn't like gaps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the selector tool, just go right there, and I'm going to hit the B key. The B key creates a new clip. See that? So I basically took this one clip and I took the B key, which stands for blade, and I cut it into 4 different clips. Now, if I'm in slip mode and I choose one of them, I hit delete, it's gone. That sounds normal. But if I'm in shuffle mode and I hit delete, watch what happens. The clips ahead of it shuffle back. It doesn't like gaps. And everything in front of it also shuffles back that same duration of space. You click this on this one, watch what happens. Boom, that comes back. You click on this one, boom, that comes back. So shuffle is really only good, for example, I mean, it's good for a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but it'll throw your video out of sync. Imagine this was all in sync right now, and then I went like this. Now all of that is out of sync because I was in shuffle mode. Shuffle shuffles your clips together as best it can whenever you add or delete something. Another thing you can do is, let's see, I'm going to take this clip, and look, I'm in shuffle mode. It won't let me place it just anywhere. I always have to place it at the end of a clip or the beginning of another. And then when I do that, watch. It just shuffles everything down to the side. It just pushed it all in there. It's what we call an insert edit in video terms. If you're in slip mode and you do the same thing, watch what happens. I can place it wherever I want, and watch. It overwrites it. So slip mode overwrites, shuffle inserts it. But when you insert, you tend to push everything to the side, throwing things out of sync. So you want to use shuffle very carefully. Most of the time, you want to use slip and spot. Okay, more on these buttons in the next chapter.